Hello class, and welcome to History 454, the history of Latin America. My apologies for not having this video up yesterday. As you can tell, I'm still getting my voice back. I had a cold over the weekend. So I'll try to keep this video a little brief. If there's any questions that I'm not able to get to, shoot me an email, or we can talk about it in the class discussion boards. But this video will just serve as a quick orientation to what we're going to be doing in this class. So Latin America is a huge region, and it covers arguably most of the Americas, most of the New World. Spain, the territory claimed and at one point administered by Spain, ran pretty much all the way from the southern tip of South America all the way up to the Canadian border inside the United States. Spain having owned California and kind of disputed Washington and Oregon, those two states up there. So that's a pretty good chunk of territory. There's a lot of people in there. There's a lot of different kinds of people in there. So I think one of the things, the challenges for this class, and kind of where we'll start off, is looking at how we define Latin America. Why do we impose this big kind of category, this big kind of term, onto such a diverse population over such a broad area? So we're looking for commonalities. What makes Latin America? Do we define Latin America just as, is it a cute way of saying like the parts of the Americas where like white people don't live? U.S., Canada, that's something else, and then everything kind of down south, that's Latin America. Race, language, all that stuff will obviously come into this class in a pretty big way. As far as like why this stuff is interesting, one, I think how we make sense of a history of nearly, let's be conservative and call it a third of the world's surface. I think it's kind of it's an ambitious project to tackle a big chunk like that. Looking at the names on the class roster, I think a lot of you, myself included, trace our ancestry to or through Latin America in some capacity. And then certainly issues relating to Latin America, particularly immigration, are a huge political import in this country right now, for better, but mostly for worse. So we'll be looking at all that. We'll be looking at kind of, who came over, how these people came over, how people moved and continue to move around through Latin America and the Americas as a whole. This is a fast-moving course, and we pretty much have, in the course, I don't have specific due dates for a lot of the work, only your papers, to make sure I have enough time to read them. The papers are going to be due the Monday of the second to last week of class. But otherwise, I know that these online courses are designed for working people or for non-traditional students. I know also that we're moving pretty briskly. Class meets, such as it is, Monday through Thursday. So there'll be new assignments 4 days a week, basically. Try your best to keep up. If you end up falling more than a day or two behind, you're going to get swamped. So just be wary of that. But that being said, I don't have hard due dates for a lot of the for most of your assignments. It's in your best interest to keep up as quickly as possible. If you feel yourself falling behind, let me know. We'll see if we can work something out. But don't wait until you're already buried to ask for help. So what we'll do now, we'll just kind of walk through the syllabus, which is up on Blackboard, and I'll just kind of go through the some of the fine points and explain what my expectations are. Starting off with the grading section, you'll see that I've got there's 4 different categories on which you'll be graded. 3 of them are equally weighted. I think a robust class discussion is really important for a successful history class. And clearly, the way that I sound right now, you don't want to hear me speak exclusively. So having you guys talk is important. In lieu of an actual classroom to do that, the discussion boards is how that'll get hashed out. So in each unit, and we'll get let's talk actually about where to find those now. So the class runs on Blackboard, as you well know. And we're doing kind of a new thing this year. if you go to, log into the class, log into the Home tab, or rather click the Home tab, and that will bring you to kind of the all-in-one landing page for the course. And so that's where you find this video, description of the course, and then the course, for reasons not totally known to me, is broken down into 5 modules. Each of those modules is 4 units each, or 4, parts each. For the first couple weeks of class, it's straight up weeks. So for the first 2 weeks, everything we're doing this week is in Module 1. Everything we're doing next week is in Module 2. Then when we get to Module 3, July 4th comes in, and things kind of get a little wonky. So you'll do, basically, in Module 3 is the classes that fall on July 5th and 6th, that Wednesday and Thursday, are the beginning of Module 3, and then the classes that fall on the Monday, Tuesday of the next week are the other 2 pieces of Module 3, and it continues like that for the rest of the course. But anyway, go through there. Just for practice it, click on Module 1. It'll bring you to a link that says Units 1 through 4. Click on that, and boom. There you have your first 4 units. So you click inside Unit 1. There's a link to the icebreaker activity on the discussion board. There's our usual discussion board also on there as well. So let's click on that. And you see that this is broken down into 2 sections. Questions about the reading. That's just for if you have any questions about language or definition or dates, just kind of things that you don't understand. That would be the area to ask that. If you want to have maybe a more kind of nuanced discussion on the reading, a reaction to it, a point that you disagreed with, something that it's not, maybe won't just take kind of a quick yes or no answer or definition, put that in reading discussions. To receive full credit on your participation grade, for, ideally, every class, I want to see each of you either asking a question about the reading, posting some kind of response to it, or responding to someone else's response. If you guys can have a conversation going amongst yourselves without me getting in the middle of it, I'm very happy with that. So much the better. So pretty much every unit will be structured like that. There's one exception which we'll get to later on. But yeah, generally post daily in those discussion boards, and that because your class participation it weighs as much as your homework assignments and as your tests. I don't put a lot of stock into kind of didactic testing. If someone pulls a gun on you and says, who is Simon Bolivar? You have probably bigger problems than not knowing exactly who Simon Bolivar is. For a lot of the stuff of kind of knowledge and trivia, you can Google that on your phone at any time. The necessity of keeping a lot of the stuff in your head doesn't quite exist anymore. What I am interested in is your ability to think and reason, and that's why your paper is worth 40% of your grade. That's where you're going to look at some kind of issue and give me some more in-depth analysis on that. In this class, this is a 400 level history class, this is pretty high level. So I'm going to trust you guys to go out and find a topic, in Latin America, broadly speaking, that interests you. And then I want you to find 3 different sources, secondary sources discussing this topic. Journal articles, books, a mix of both. And then you're going to write me a historiography. This is actually most of what kind of history majors do at the undergraduate and graduate level, is you look at how people have written about history, and you find has the way that we've talked about the subject changed over time? Are we focused on different things now? Which historians are doing a better job than others? So it's not quite a book review, but it's close. You are kind of analyzing and reviewing these people's works. You're finding areas where they agree, finding areas where they disagree, and then you're going to tell me at the end what was the most convincing to you. There will be a separate module where you can upload your paper on Blackboard. I haven't had that. That's not fully set up yet. Each unit will also contain a writing assignment. This is just again a little thought exercise to wrap the unit up. Make sure that you got what we talked about in this unit, because that will feed into your midterm and final. Late work, to talk about that a little bit more. Again, July 17th is when your paper's due. The class ends July 25th. If you don't have your work in by 11:59 on July 25th, the class ends. There is no class with which to which you can turn it on. If you get struck by a car, if you suffer a heat stroke over the July 4th weekend, we can talk about extensions. I'm not totally heartless on that, but you have to have a reason for me to give you that extension. And I do have to be kind of merciless on this, because I think clarity and strong guidelines here are more effective for everyone involved. All right. Again, there's another little warning. This is a fast course. Take it seriously. Plagiarism, you will fail the course automatically if I find you getting answers and whatnot off the internet and kind of unattributed. You should know this by now. This being an upper level course. I think every class I've taught at the Dominican, I've failed at least one kid for plagiarism related causes. Don't be that person. It doesn't have. There's a better way. Just do your work, and do your work honestly, and you'll be fine. I don't think I've ever failed someone for honestly trying in a course. Boilerplate stuff, while we're here, course objective, course skills, blah blah blah. Okay, class schedule. So this gives you the class by class or unit by unit breakdown. I'd mentioned that we would have one kind of exception to the rule on the discussion board. That is class 12. There were two different readings I really wanted to assign here. One was a view of the Mexican War from the American perspective. The U.S.-Mexican War of 1846 to 48. Because there's the racial attitudes that get formed during that war, both in the United States and outside of, and both Americans viewing themselves and viewing Mexicans, have some enduring power, unfortunately. So I think that's an important reading, but that's still not really a reading from inside Latin America. That's a reading from the U.S. kind of looking out, operating in Latin America. So I also wanted to assign this journal article, Independent Indians and the U.S.-Mexican War by Brian Daly, that looks at kind of relations on the northern frontier of Mexico, and kind of how people kind of living in that border region, what's now Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, California, what kind of changed, what being crossed by the border, going from Mexican to American, what that meant for the different people in those regions, and why they chose to respond to that change and, for the most part, go along with it the way that they did. So, wanted to assign both of those, but having that be too much reading for one unit, I split in half. So those of you whose last names begin with A through L, you're going to read the chapter from Paul Foose, The Short Offhand Killing Affair, the one about the U.S. soldiers in the Mexican-American War. If your last name starts with the letters M through Z, you're going to read the Brian Daly Independent Indians article. Then I want you to go and post your response, or kind of talk about a response to your reading on the discussion board, and hop over to the other side and respond. Read through and respond to the responses about the one that you didn't read. So hopefully, you're at least reading something written by someone who read the thing that you didn't read. So that's a little bit more work than usual, but I think both of those things are important. the class before that, and this is another thing that I will actually set a hard due date on. 7/10 or July 10th. For your papers, I want to see and approve your topics and your sources before you go off and write the paper, just to make sure that you're pulling from reputable academic sources. Don't do a Wikipedia article on the Mexican War and have that appear as one of your sources. Like, it's got to come through like a journal or an academic press. So to make sure that everyone gets that, let me just see what you're going to read and write about before you go off and do it. So that's it. I think I'll have to do the rest by email. My voice is gone. Good luck, everyone. Looking forward to working with you. Enjoy.